You're bloated.
I can't even start it up. I'm so full. Why don't you start us
What
up?
is this? 84?
84.
Episode 84.
Take your arm off the table. You're shaking the computer,
What are you doing?
making it bounce. Guys, we're in an unstable situation here.
Unstable.
We're at Chris's house, recording live together for the first time. Right?
So yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Actually.
for the first time in 2 years almost.
Yeah.
Our connection's unstable because we live in
The armpit of the world.
armpit of the world. So we're struggling here. But so we apologize for any kind of video interference, audio malfunctions. Oh, we got 2 bars now. But we're going to do our best here. So welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah. Episode 84. Welcome in.
Yeah, we did. We went fishing.
We did. We had a hard day.
You took us to a junk lake with no fish,
It was junk.
0 fish.
Just about 0 fish. I caught fish.
I caught a fish too on a topwater popper. Again,
Horrible.
horrible. But we did
Very
that
good.
early this morning, and we got some food. Made out with that, and then now we're going to record this podcast.
Mhm.
So what's today's topic?
Today's topic.
Yeah, what is it?
Dave's phone is going off.
Yep.
Today's topic is what was it? Better nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
bigger bucks,
Bigger deer.
bigger deer.
Why do I smell perfume?
That's the soap I just washed my hands with.
Yeah,
We're
so
practicing good COVID conditions.
I'm sure, yeah. So good nutrition,
Good nutrition equals
better deer,
better bucks.
better quality.
Hmm.
But it doesn't happen overnight.
No, and people refuse to follow the steps
Yeah. So
all the time.
yeah. So we're a bit fired up today.
It's gonna get brutal in here.
I constantly get questions on social media. And I want to say up until about 2 years ago, people were pretty good. Like people that were, food plotters were messaging me, YouTube comments, emails, whatever it is. They were pretty much on point. Like they knew what was going on. But this year has been really bad. I don't know if it's just a different flow of people that we're getting, or it's just more people food plotting or whatever it is. But man, people are really confused.
Are you referring to all the comments on these forums or just your emails in general?
Well, everything.
Okay. Yeah, everything.
It just seems like a lot of people this year are lost.
Yeah. Seems like there's a lot of confusion.
You're confused now.
Yeah, there's a lot of confusion. A lot of people commenting on these forums, and they get into arguments, and it's bad information that they're sharing in the first place. So let's get back to the basics.
Yeah. So I made a video, I don't know, a week ago. It's up to like 5,000 views, I think, so far. But it was basically referring to when to plant food plots, because that's part of the confusing factor is people planting way too early. They're planting in early end of June, early July. It's just too early, right?
Yeah.
So where this came from, we're not sure, but it's messing people up big time.
Yeah, and I saw a bunch of posts this week. They were arguing over one of them in particular. Is it too late to plant this?
Oh, I've
Someone
seen
said,
that,
"Oh,
yeah.
we'll flip the jug over and look at it." You
Mhm.
know, well, that's horrible information.
Yeah. We're actually
You know.
seeing posts that people are looking at brassicas. They're taking a picture of it and say, "Hey guys, I just bought this. Is it too late to plant?
Right.
We're in July.
Mm.
I mean, we're at the end of July right now. No, it's not too late.
Mm.
I mean, you got weeks on weeks to go."
Right.
And we saw people planting fall food plots in June
Yeah.
this year. But the whole moral of this is, if you go back to the basics of soil sampling, adequate sunlight, soil to seed contact, and you're following a soil sample, you're adding actual physical lime, and fertilizer, those plants can then become the best they can be,
Mm.
which then in turn, when animals eat it, deer, they're eating the most it can be. But it's not going to happen overnight because it takes time to improve the soil. And it all goes into your whole property when you're trying to make better forage, higher nutrition to feed the wildlife. It doesn't just start with food plots, it starts with your entire property.
Mhm.
So if you have 100 acres, you need to try to improve that 100 acres, whether it's, cutting, getting more sunlight so you get more browse, mowing things, keeping things mowed, or, brush hogging certain areas so you get the fresh regrowth, liming fields and getting that pH up, and whether it's, planting fruit trees or whatever it is, but, you have to improve the soil because that's where deer get nutrition from. It all starts in the soil and sunlight.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just don't know why people want to skip the first step in the process, and everybody was looking for these shortcuts nowadays, these fast fixes,
Hmm.
which are temporaries. You know,
I think they're good to use, but they're temporary.
you can use them in conjunction. I mean, you know, but it's short lived, and people are failing, and they want to know why, and a lot of people are saying, well, since this failed, now use this fix, you know, because we're running out of time. You got to get planted, and you got to buy this and use this now, and people are getting frustrated because they're throwing money in the dirt and they're not seeing
Hmm.
anything for their money,
Yeah.
So it gets frustrating, but some of it's operator error, some of it is some of it is bad information given. And some people just don't listen to instructions well.
No, that's the thing. Like, people don't follow instructions and they just half-ass it. Um, and to try to get, and they half-ass it, but they still want the best results,
Yeah,
and it's not going to happen. We just saw a post the other day of somebody planted a food plot, brassicas, and brassicas need sunlight, um, in the woods.
yeah. No, I never planned. I mean, I tried it one time and it failed miserably, so I didn't do it again.
I did it years ago, long time ago. I tried two different plots in the woods. They both failed. Had minimal, very minimal sunlight. What happened was, and that in the picture that these people posted online, they were all excited. They had this, just they went. It's like they literally went into the woods. They raked out an area
Yeah,
with trees everywhere. They just raked around the trees. They threw out seed, and they saw, 3-inch,
yeah.
stuff coming up.
It'll come up green.
And I could already tell that it was going to fail because they were real thin, they were pale, and they were already starting to fall over because there's no sunlight.
Yeah.
There's probably low pH. There's no sunlight. Those sun that you have to have sun for those plants to chase.
Hmm.
And I did it long time, years ago, and both those plots failed. I came back in, and all the plants in both areas, the plants just literally flopped right over, and because there was no sun.
Well, and there's also some sayings out there that people use that I think are taken wrong, and they pertain to something else, but they use it as Bible. And one of the sayings is get this in before the leaf canopy comes on, you know. And I mean that's good information in for your woods plots pertaining to like clovers and things that'll grow in lower pH and without as much sunlight. They can survive on filtered sunlight and whatnot, but brassicas is not one of those plants that you can
Mm-mm.
get away with that.
Even with the, getting the seed in before the canopy, clover takes forever.
Yeah, clover's so long to
So by the
establish.
time it actually gets established, your canopy's already
Yeah,
canopied over
and
again.
that's some of the questions I've
Um,
been getting lately.
it
Is
does, it just doesn't make sense.
I said, when should I? Is it too late to plant clover? Well, it's never really too late to plant clover.
Mm.
You're just going to wait for it to establish. Hurry up and wait anyhow. So like, yeah, get it in now, and then it'll have some root system built for dormancy. But in the spring, year two, boom, flush, green, right away in the spring.
Yeah, if you, I mean, you could plant clover in mid-July as long as you're getting rain.
Anytime, as long as you're not in the deep south and it burns out,
Right.
basically.
Yeah. You gotta have rain though. So I mean,
Yeah, you
dry.
gotta.
The summer is dry time. So I mean, you could plant July and fail because of no rain. But
Right.
if you're getting rain, then yeah, it's never too late to plant clover, really.
Well, and I was on with somebody the other day. Can't remember. I think it was a FaceTime, and he was asking me, why.
How do you not remember if it was a FaceTime?
Well,
This guy.
memory bad. Not only that, but I don't want to expose the person. I could use one of those. But anyhow, asking when should he plant his clover? He didn't plant clover. And I said, well, he asked me when I do it for maximum efficiency, and I said, well, I always look ahead to the next season when I plant something. And one of my big catchphrases is plant 365, planting, keeping something green all the time. And what I was trying to explain to him was, um, he said he didn't plant it yet. I said, well, wait till you're planting your fall plots now. Then, put it in, put that clover seed in with your fall, whatever, brassica blend or whatever blend you're sticking in. And that way, like I just was saying earlier, it'll establish the root system, and then it'll be good for next year. And then March time, since we're in PA, around the end of March or so, you can frost seed over that and thicken it up, and then do a mowing routine in the summer, next summer, and when it's all flowered out and starting to turn brown and dropping seed, you can mow it and spread that seed out, or you can just let it drop. That'll work too. But I mean, that'll help thicken up your plots also.
Mm-hmm.
But he was asking for a specific time, and I'm like, there really isn't a really, just put it in the fall before, and then the next year you'll have something.
Yeah,
The second year is always better with that clover.
definitely is. Back to like the higher nutrition,
Yeah,
your
let's
plants.
maximize their nutrition here.
I'm about to maximize my nutrition with these cookies right here. But I mean, it all stems from the soil. That's where it all stems from: soil, health, and sunlight. So, if you're trying to like say just a big farm, you got a big farm, 500 acres, where some of it is isolated maybe from neighboring pressure, and you really have a chance to maybe hold some deer and grow deer, because growing deer is a term that gets thrown around, because if you're on a 30-acre farm, I mean, you're not really growing deer. If you have
They're just
neighboring,
passing through.
if you have neighboring properties, and say you're in an area, say you have 30 acres here, you have all these neighbors hunting. A deer is not going to live on 30 acres. So you can say in your mind, I'm growing these deer. No, you're not. I mean, you could pass a buck and it may survive. It may get past the neighbor, and then the following year, you see it and it's bigger. You say, no. I mean, yeah, you did. You let it go. It grew another year. But in general, you can improve your 30 acres, right? Higher nutrition this, higher nutrition that, but that deer is not physically living there to eat that nutrition that you created. It's all over the place. I
Yeah.
mean, it could be 10 miles
Well,
away.
that plot's not there over the winter.
Right. So
Browse.
my point is, it takes a large acres and a lot of work to physically grow deer, but you can't do that if you don't have browse, high quality food, good soil conditions, standing crops, and all these different things working hand in hand together. Birthdays, everything. Your neighbors are on the same page. And so, I mean, you could go through all this trouble and provide all this nutrition, mineral sites, food plots, soil, put all your money into soil health and everything. And then all your neighbors just kill all the small ones. So it all has to work together for it to take to take place. And yeah, there's always a chance you let you let a 6 point go or an 8 pointer, and then the following year it makes it right. It passes your neighbors. Your neighbors don't shoot it, and you see it. And there's always a chance. Yes. In general, it's tough. It's a really tough to do because and that's fine. Not everybody's on the same page. So if you have that goal in mind, you need to be in an area that's all on the same page. Say you got property after property after property after property, that big farms and ag everywhere, and tons of food, and everybody's passing everything, and you're actually providing all this high quality soil that feeds the plants and then feeds the deer. Then you can really say, yeah, we're really growing deer here.
Mhm.
Like my farm, was it Indiana?
Down by
Indiana. I don't know where I'm from. It's
Blairsville.
What is it?
Blairsville.
Yeah,
area.
Blairsville. It's 70 acres. There's tons of ag and there's small patches of woods. So there's a chance there that these deer could survive because they're living in the corn, and they're avoiding. There's not a whole lot of people around there that really hunt. So I have a chance there of seeing bigger ones, and it does. I didn't shoot a buck there last year. I let TJ shoot that smaller one, but in general, the first year we hunted, I shot a really nice buck during rifle season. I didn't shoot a buck last year. I had tons of small ones, growing up. So this year we should have some decent ones running around, and my trail cameras kind of show that this year. So it just really depends. And this year, I don't know if you've seen it or not. That's a good question though. But have you been seeing? I know your Chris is struggling to see bucks this year.
Yeah, it's weird.
In general, he's usually got a lot of bucks, but this year they're somewhere else right now. But
Yeah.
have you been seeing on social media that people are seeing a lot of bigger bucks this year?
It seems to be.
Yeah,
It seems to be a trend. I mean,
I'm seeing it too.
in PA, ever since they enacted this antler restriction thing, obviously it's a program that's going to help save some of the smaller bucks and let them grow.
I'm not talking about PA. I'm just saying in general.
In general,
People are seeing bigger bucks.
Well,
this
a
year.
lot more people are cognitive now too.
Yeah.
They're trying to better their bucks, but one of the ways they think they're doing it is, like you said, all these shortcuts they're taking in these food plots and things. They think that they need their food plot to feed that deer to make it grow. I mean, it is a building block. I mean, it's a tool to use, but they don't need your plot. But if you're going to do a plot, you might as well maximize it
Mm-hmm.
so that they get maximum growth.
Well, we talk about this, but look at the old farm.
Mm-hmm.
When me and him started working on the old farm, it was 100 acres attached to a lot of woods, no ag around. The first I got that property in, I think it was toward the end of November. I mean, I don't have it anymore. 7 years ago or so, but maybe 6. I put trail cameras out. Back then we were using Spy Point. And deer were eating pine needles.
Yeah.
They were eating pine needles, and all the ribs and everything was showing, and it was terrible. No food, no browse, had that vacant field that nothing was done to it, very poor soil. We put in food plots. I did some cuttings there, got some more browse, and I was spraying micronutrient, and just I put a lot of work in there. Chris did too. And next thing you know, year after year after year, the ribs stopped showing. The deer got big and fat and started seeing bigger bucks. And it just turned and the reason that worked there really well is because, one, there was no other food anywhere. There was no food. So when you make those improvements in that type of situation, you're going to see a big improvement. If you're already in an area that has tons of food and high nutrition everywhere, and you start doing all this work, you're going to see minimal results because the nutrition's already there. But when you go to an area with very poor habitat, and then you start putting work in food plots, soil health, focusing on all the right things, those deer really.
I think people get sticker shock too, though. I mean, they get a soil test back that says you need 3,000 pounds of lime per acre, and they
Mhm.
freak out. You know, I mean,
Well, the problem is they're not even doing it.
well, yeah, well, that is a lot of problem. But the other half that are going to try, they get that shock value, and you know, maybe you can't afford to do that all this year. Do half of it this year, half of it next year, and see where you're at, or whatever. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is after you have a steady process that you follow, eventually you're going to get to the point where you're not adding anything in. I know this year here, I haven't had to add anything to any of my plots.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I needed 3 bags of fertilizer for 4 acres, and that's like nothing. So I just went ahead and added it in earlier in the year, and I just used some starter fertilizer when I plant in the fall. But so it's already there and working for me. But yeah, eventually it'll start taking care of itself, and you won't have to put so much money into just a little maintenance dose now and then. You know, and don't forget too that if you are using large amounts of fertilizer, that you actually need a little bit of extra lime because it's full of so much fillers and salts and things. That one was free.
Free, eh?
Yeah, that was free.
Just like these cookies were free. But yeah, like I get it. Food plots are expensive.
It is.
I get people, may not have the funds for it, but the thing is, you know, you have to, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So food plots require work, just like anything else. So anybody that's getting into food plots, there's a process. You have to have sunlight. You have to have decent soil for things to grow, and moisture. We can't help that, but what we can help is sunlight, and we can help the soil sample.
Yeah, do things that make sense.
So if you get into food plotting and you're not going to do the proper steps, basic general steps, you're going to fail. Not always, but there's a high percentage chance that you're going to fail. So you can prevent the sleepless nights, the heartache of going on social media and making a post in these groups and say, I don't know what went wrong. I threw seed out in the middle of the woods and there's no sunlight, but I don't know why it didn't grow. You can prevent this. Just don't do it because it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it's sorry to say, but if you're going into the middle of the woods and not cutting trees and you have no sun, it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
You done wasted your money on the seed, which seeds.
But then they go to another forum and ask, what's a good seed to plant in the shade?
I know. And there isn't one. There's no
They're
good
looking
seed.
for justification somewhere. They want someone to say, hey, use this.
Right. There's no good seed to plant with no sun. Are there things that's shade tolerant? Yeah, a little, but you still need some. You still have to have sunlight. Oats, wheat, rye, some clovers and things can handle a little bit of shade, but even then, it still needs sunlight. You have to have sunlight. So you can prevent all of these issues. But like you said, they want they want to know, they want somebody to tell them what to do, an easy fix for it.
Yeah.
What's an easy? Well, there is no easy fix. You have to get a chainsaw and cut some trees.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get some sunlight. You have to spend. That's what I don't understand too, is I see posts. I just saw one yesterday or last night when I was getting ready to go to sleep. I was scrolling through Facebook. This guy posted something that said, he bought all this seed and all this other stuff, fertilizer and everything, but it says, I didn't have time to get a soil sample.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
What do you mean? There's still time. You can get a soil for $15. Get a soil sample, send it in. You have it back in like 3 days.
Well,
4 days.
And I'm going to use the word stupid. Okay, I'm going to use that word, and the reason why I'm using it is because it's stupid to buy a $28 bag of fertilizer when you can have a $15 soil sample that'll tell you exactly what you need. You might not even need that $28 bag of fertilizer, and that's what you're using.
Mhm.
And that's what irritated me. See, now I'm getting worked up. That's what irritated me about that post the other day when I need a cookie. When they said that we'll just flip the jug over and see what it says.
Mm.
That'll give you the date. And the other question was, well, how much fertilizer do I use with that jug?
Mhm.
Specific jug. And they said, and someone posted, read the label. Yeah. Well, the label is a recommendation if
It's a
you're
general,
lazy.
yeah, it's a general.
It's just a general recommendation if you're going to be lazy and skip the proper steps. They want you to have success, so they're going to tell you throw this in the dirt because that's a fail safe to
Mhm.
them,
Right.
and then you are not going to badmouth their seed for you messing up with your operator error.
Mhm. Yeah.
They're protecting their own butts.
Yep.
But you may not have needed that in the first place, and it's cheaper than a bag of fertilizer at this point in time. Why not try it? It's cheap insurance.
Yep. And then say you get the soil sample back and it says you have very poor fertility levels, your pH is low. Well, what's more important? You need to add the
And
lime.
get the lime on, get
It's
the
way
pH up.
like you don't need fertilizer if your pH is so low. It's more important for the to add lime than it
Yeah.
is fertilizer. So don't worry about the fertilizer if you get a soil sample and it says all the numbers are in the
Right.
red or orange or whatever it is. Don't worry about that. Worry about getting the pH right through lime. Spend your money, resources on lime than fertilizer.
Because if you've watched these podcasts before or either one of our channels, we'll beat you till you're blue in the face about it. The pH is more important because, and here's why, because the nutrients are in the soil and they're locked up
Mhm.
for usage in the uptake into your plants. If you don't have the correct pH to unlock those nutrients and suck it into the plants, it's unusable.
What is the correct pH?
Or
What is the correct pH?
I like between 6.5 and 6.8.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like. Some people will tell you 7, but 7's hard to attain and keep leveled out.
It's going to fluctuate a little bit.
But there are certain things that need that high pH too, like alfalfas. They need a high maintained pH. But
if you can get to a 6.5, you're winning.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. But you know, past podcasts and things, I used to spit out numbers. If you was below a 5.5, only 50% of your fertilization that you add is usable.
Mm-hmm.
So take half of it and throw it away because it's not going to be used.
That's if
it's literal.
That's if everything is working right. Yeah. Because granular fertilizer, not everything is absorbed. Not the plants aren't going to absorb everything. So you already have low pH. So you're already wasting 50% of the fertilizer.
Yeah.
So you have 25% that could get used, but in reality, out of the 25%, you may only be using 10% because you get runoff and things, it leaches through the soil. So it's there's a lot of
volatilization.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues that could happen. And to finish this up, I'll talk about this story again real quick. Is soil samples. Okay, I planted my very first food plot when I was 14 years old in my parents' backyard with a garden tiller. It was roughly about 1/8 of an acre, and I planted. I don't remember what it was, but this is a long time ago, 26 years ago, and okay,
You're old.
Yeah, I planted that one. I left it there. I think it was clover. I left it there for years. Kind of got away from that. Didn't plant there, and then I came back to it like 10 years ago, and I wasn't going to do a soil sample. I wasn't going to, right? But I ended up doing it anyway. So I went out and bought a soil sample, sent it in, came back to it. The pH was exactly 7. The fertility levels, everything was optimal. I didn't need any lime, any fertilizer. If I bought the bag of seed and I went on the back of it and flipped it over. Follow the recommendations of 300 pounds of triple 19 per acre, and whatever amount of lime. I would have wasted. How much is 300 pounds of triple 19?
That's 6 bags at $28 a piece or something.
Yeah, so
Just a lot.
couple $100 I would have bought
For nothing.
for nothing, zero purpose,
Wasted.
I would have threw into the soil. I would have added lime, added all the money, $5.50 a bag now.
Because more's not better.
Right.
you
So I
know.
would have wasted all this money putting it into the soil when I didn't need it.
Yeah.
So that's just one example. Now, you could have a lucky situation like that, and you could disc it up and you plant something and it grows perfectly fine. But the chances of that happening are slim to none.
You're right.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a rare.
That
It's
was
just
real rare.
for whatever reason that soil stayed good from when I planted it when I was 14 years old, because I did a soil sample back then and I added lime and fertilizer. It was never tilled ever again after that, and it just stayed that way. So
And on the opposite end of the spectrum, I used Penn State samples, and they tell you, oh, you only need to sample every 3 years.
I don't like it.
I do it every year.
Yeah.
Now, had I not soil sampled this year and known that everything was spot on, I would have, if I was going to take the easy way out and just take the recommendations off the bottle, yeah, I could have spent a couple $100, threw it out there and wasted it.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't even need to do that this year. I had everything's good on point. So
good to go.
No waste there. But better nutrition will equal better deer. It's not overnight. It'll happen. Just work on your system and perfect that. It'll get better every year for you.
Get sunlight
Yeah,
and get a soil sample.
For sure.
Focus on lime. Ignore the fertilizer at first if you don't have the resources to do so. Focus on the lime.
Yep.
And get sunlight. Follow basic steps, and
go shoot a hog.
Yeah, shoot a big boy this year in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Go sika hunting, kill a sika. All right, guys, we're out.